Welcome to our channel and thank you for clicking on this video regarding the South African Employment Equity Act. This is video 3 of 4 and we will look at how the Act prevents unfair discrimination and promotes affirmative action in the workplace. Let's explore the content of video 3. What does the Act say about unfair discrimination? Section 2 of the Act prohibits all employers, irrespective of size, from discriminating unfairly, directly or indirectly, against an employee in any employment policy or practice, on one or more grounds including race, gender, pregnancy, marital status, family responsibility, ethnic or social origin, color, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, HIV status, conscience, belief, political opinion, culture, language, and birth. It is not unfair discrimination to promote affirmative action consistent with the Act or to prefer or exclude any person based on an inherent job requirement. Psychometric and medical testing are prohibited unless the tests are valid, fair and can be applied without any bias toward a particular cultural group, required by law, or justifiable in light of medical facts and other criteria, or a court of law has allowed such testing. The COVID-19 pandemic, and the South African Disaster Management Act is an example where medical testing is allowed and even mandatory in some work environments. An employer has many responsibilities if and when employees test positive for COVID-19, such as to inform the Department of Health and the National Department of Employment and Labor. Examples of possible unfair discrimination. Example 1. If a worker is paid less than his or her colleagues because he is male or she is female, it would constitute prohibited gender discrimination. Example 2. Discriminating against an employee or job applicant simply because he or she is too young or too old will normally constitute unfair discrimination, but the law says that employers may not hire employees who are younger than 15 years of age. Example 3. While employees are required by law to complete the EEA-1 form, people with disabilities also have the right not to disclose their disability unless they have an impairment that may have an impact on the inherent requirements of the job. The Act encourages the employment of disabled individuals and it will therefore be relevant for the employer to report on progress made or targets reached in this regard. Affirmative action. Affirmative action intends to ensure that suitably qualified employees from designated groups have equal employment opportunities and are equitably represented in all occupational categories and levels of the workforce. A designated employer will report on all of these elements and in this way the department will be able to monitor compliance and progress. The employment equity analysis, targets, and plans should thus include identification and elimination of barriers that impact on designated groups. Promote diversity. Making reasonable accommodation for people from designated groups. Retention, development, and training of designated groups, including skills development, and preferential treatment and numerical goals to ensure equitable representation. Designated employers are not required to take any decision regarding an employment policy or practice that would establish an absolute barrier to prospective or continued employment or advancement of people not from designated groups. In terms of identifying disproportionate income differentials, the Act requires that a statement of remuneration and benefits received in each occupational category and level of the workforce to be submitted by a designated employer to the Employment Conditions Commission, also referred to as the ECC. Where there are disproportionate income differentials, a designated employer must take measures to reduce them progressively. Such measures may include collective bargaining, compliance with sectoral determinations, as per Section 51 of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, the application of norms and benchmarks recommended by the ECC, relevant measures contained in skills development legislation, and any other appropriate steps. This brings us to the end of video 3. We hope you found it helpful and that you will continue to watch the other videos on this topic. In video 4 we will cover monitoring, enforcement, and legal proceedings regarding the Employment Equity Act. It will also include a brief look at stricter employment equity laws that are planned for South Africa from 2022. Please subscribe, like, and share our video content.